as well. I'm on YouTube as well. Okay, as well. Okay. So we'll wait for a few minutes till people join us, and then we'll start at 2:05. Uh,
You are now muted.
okay. So meanwhile, people are joining. Okay.
You are now
Sorry,
unmuted.
I was on mute. So meanwhile, people are joining. I'll quickly introduce Shonal Goel and her project Zing. Just give me a second. Hi everyone. Welcome to FOSS Meetup October, and thank you for joining us. Say hi if you are on YouTube and or big blue button. So in this meetup, we have Sonal, and she's gonna talk about her project Zing, which is a open source deduplication and entity resolution project. So a bit introduction about what Zing is all about. Real world data, contains multiple record belonging to the same customer or same person. Uh, so these records can be single or multiple system. They can have variation across fields, which makes it hard to combine together, especially with growing the data that we have in the market. This hurts customer analytics, for example the banking sector, I mean, and like today Sonal is going to talk about her project, which is trying to fix this problem. So, hey Sonal, welcome to the meetup. Thank you for joining us today and spending your time this Saturday with us. You
Yeah,
can,
thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, and I think that's the
You are now
power of
muted.
open source. That I'm talking with people, and people are listening to me. People who've never met me, and I'm able to share something that I've been very passionately working on. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'll start my talk today with some details about the problem. I mean, I think we talked. Vishal has given a good overview of the problem, but let me go a bit deeper and just try to explain why the problem exists and how Zing kind of takes an approach to fix this. So as we see, right? I mean, we hear all these terms about data is the new oil, data is the new bacon. I think we have, we run out of adjectives or verbs to give to data. But what is a clear trend is definitely that companies are saving and analyzing more and more data, and not just tech companies. I think every company is now turning into a tech company, which is understanding what how their customers are behaving, what kind of interactions they are having, what is the SLA they are giving. I think it's just beyond the traditional like the new age tech companies. I think even traditional companies in the BFSI, in pharma, are looking at just saving every drop of data that they have, every interaction, and analyzing more and more data. And I think the need for this is evolving. Like, we hear companies like Amazon doing collaborative filtering and increasing their revenue, and those kind of things you have really sparked interest in organizations looking at getting into more and more higher chains of analytics. And if you want to analyze your data, or if you want to really do anything meaningful out of your data, there is becomes a need for having high quality, unified and consistent internal data, and that enriched with external data sets. So I mean, your analytics can only be as good as the data that you have, and unifying your internal data, which is the first party data, and mashing it up with external data sets becomes more and more critical. Now, this is easier said than done. The reason is that companies will have a combination of various kinds of technologies, different departments, different systems, cloud-based, in-house, on-prem, and some of them legacy, some of them with different kinds of structures. And a lot of in especially in the larger companies, a lot of data is also acquired through mergers and acquisitions, or could be external data services. And just getting a single view of core business entities like customers or suppliers becomes very tough. And what that leads to is that you miss your revenue growth opportunities, because you have no view on what you can cross sell or upsell to your customers. How can you personalize your interactions with your customers? What kind of product recommendations can you, or service recommendations can you give to your customers? In terms of regulatory compliance like GDPR, if you have no idea about where your data is, you definitely cannot service a GDPR request, right, to be forgotten. There are healthcare specific rules like Sunshine Act. There are KYC and AML scenarios, and all that needs a strong, data fundamental layer, which is unified and consistent. So essentially, I mean, I think the problem arises that different data sets will have different representations of your customers, of your suppliers, of your other entities. And if you look at this, you have Mr. Timothy Chen here, even in 4 or 5 records, being represented very differently. There is a salutation. The company name is written out differently with corporation, private limited. The emails are not consistent, and some of them are missing. Similar to the exactly with the same problem with phone numbers, addresses are always a big pain for matching. And then how do you say that this person who has had multiple interactions with me is essentially actually the same individual, and I'm not really bombarding them with the wrong marketing, sending out the wrong coupons to them, missing out my opportunities for cross selling and upselling. And that is essentially, I think, the core value proposition of Zing, that we do. Now, in terms of how Zing works at a very high level, you can deploy Zing at all major cloud providers or in-house. You work with extracted and staged data, so the extraction and loading part is done. Zing is a transformation layer, which from the extracted and the staged data would give you the unified and enriched views. It's a learning based system, so it learns and improves by examples. You don't need any specialized skills for running Zing, except once it's installed. And Zing is built for scaling, to scale out to millions of records easily. And typically what we see is that even with 8 to 10 million records, easily you can productize Zing within a week. Now, as an open source library, Zing supports any input or output warehouse, database, or data lake. So pretty much any RDBMS, NoSQL file format for which a Spark connector is present, Zing as a Spark tool can actually read and write to any kind of a source or sink. It has a command line execution, and it can, as I also mentioned earlier, can run on any cloud or private Spark cluster. So let's do a deep dive. I will first walk you through the repo and then just show you a demo of how Zing works. Sorry. Okay. So here's the repo. There is detailed documentation about how you have to configure, install, and run Zing. There's also a step-by-step guide, and there are guidelines for hardware sizing, what kind of hardware to select, etc. How to run it on the cloud, as well as there are some pre-trained models on some example data sets that we have given. I would love for the community to kind of build up, and we have started a Slack channel. If you want to contribute, just use Zing, open an issue, share a model. I mean, just drop in and say hi. I think even that would be very, very encouraging at this point of time. Okay, so let me just, I think I'll explain one more problem here. So when we're talking about the Timothy Chen example, or if we look at this example here, you have just three records here, but just the amount of variations that happen across these three records itself is very difficult to hand code through rules or algorithms, and there is no identifier here. So essentially, you have to compare every record in the system with every other record, and what that leads to is that there is, like, when you have 10,000 comparisons, this is 10,000 input records, this is the number of comparisons you have to make. And when you go from even a 10 times increase in the number of input records makes the number of comparisons that you need to make to assess similarity goes up 100 times. And so essentially, this is a very scale problem. And for that, Zing learns a variety of models. So there is, very learning based indexing that does, which is a blocking tree that it builds out internally. It also learns that, so it doesn't compare every record with every other record. It clusters similar records together, and only within that cluster it will make those comparisons, those finer comparisons, to say that these records, hey, exactly belong to the same individual or to the same customer. It can be just any entity. Zing works across any kind of entities. It could be addresses, it could be organizational details, it could be demographic data and other stuff. And it also learns when these within a block, really how to say that these records actually belong together. And all this is actually done through training data. So let me show you a sample of data that I will be running today. This is customer data which has record IDs, but these record IDs are actually you know I mean, you have a lot of duplicates here. So you have various kinds of variations in these records. So if you say here the last name is spelled out differently, one field is missing here. Similarly, in this case, the Phillip Avenue is spelled out differently. So all these records have various kinds of variations. So Jackson here, the area code is 2803 in one case. In one case, the date of birth is missing. So it gets complicated in a way to actually frame out these rules of similarity. So to work with this kind of data, what Zing actually needs is a configuration. And this configuration is actually just going to define what is the input and how you want it to match. So here my input is actually CSV file. I've defined its structure here. You actually don't need to define its schema if it's a self descriptive, JDBC query or a JDBC or a NoSQL store or even Parquet or Avro kind of files. And then you actually just define, how you want the matching to happen, what fields you want to run the matching on, and what type of matching you want, whether it's fuzzy, whether it's exact. And that is pretty much the kind of configuration it needs, and obviously where you want the output to be saved. So here I've asked the output location as in the format of a CSV, and the location to go into /temp Zing output. Now, like, how do I train Zing, right? So I am going to ask Zing to actually select some training data, because we cannot humanly, just keep building out training data. So Zing comes with an interactive learner. It is going to figure out some edge cases and build out its models from that. So there is active learning here, through which actually Zing is going to actually pick out some data from the input. So I give the phase, I pass down the, phase is to find the training data. The configuration is the config that I just showed to you. And using this, Zing is actually going to select some pairs it wants us to label, through which it can learn. Now this is done, and let me just, so it has selected some pairs, but it really doesn't know whether they're matches or not. So let us bring up an interactive learner through which it is actually going to learn what is a match or not a match. Okay, so Zing has actually selected this record, and it is, it wants us to tell it whether this is to be treated as a match or not. Now Zing goes wide, it goes deep, it goes very very clear. So you have various kinds of uh, uh, questions in terms of pairs to be shown to you, but we are very frugal. Zing is very very frugal in terms of the amount of labeling a human has to do. So even with 9 to 10 million records, you probably just need to mark around 200 pairs for training. So this is definitely not a match. So I will mark it as 0. This is not a match. I will mark it again as 0. This looks like a match with the last name being wrong. So let us put it as a 1. This is a 0. This is not a match again. This looks like a match. Let me just mark it as a match. This is not a match. This is again a match. Yes, this is a match. Yeah, this is a match. Yes, this is a match. This is not a match. This is a, yeah, this is a match. This is not a match. This is not a match. This is again not a match. Not a match. Now, I think because the data set was small, within the first round itself, it was able to find, some good matches. But typically, you have to run this, a couple of times, these rounds of fine training data and matching. But because this data set is small, I can just, because I found around 10 matches, I will just run a train match phase, which will really build out the models from this training data and also output the matches for us. So here what it is doing is that, we have given it some samples, which we have said, yes, these are matches and these are not matches. Through this it is actually going to learn all the models about, how to index them. So you don't do a Cartesian join and match everything with everything. And it is also going to learn what is the best way to, what is the field level similarity, what is the record level similarity, how do you really say that these two records are actually matches. And internally it is going to train a few clustering and classification models. and that will be used for the prediction. So you can continue, so once this model is actually built, you can continue to get more data with the same schema, and just you don't need to run the training again. You can just continue to use the same models. So internally, Zinc actually will select, all kinds of what is the right threshold. So automate, it's like kind of an automated machine learning, where it selects the feature weights, the final threshold, and all that is actually abstracted away from the user. So that's why I said that you don't need any specialized skills except a knowledge of your own data. So here we actually are doing a grid search, for finding also the hyperparameters of the model are also getting tuned here. And now it's actually the training is finished and started predicting. It's kind of done. It's actually writing the output file in the location that we had specified. So let's head there. So I will actually, so if you look at the output here, because this is a Spark application, so every partition gets its own, file, and the output is actually split. But if you are actually, writing it to a table or something, then you will actually get them all together. I will just get them out into a, let's just open it.
We have a couple of questions. Did you see that in the chat box?
Okay. Okay, let me check that then. Let me just open this once again.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Just one second. Just give me. Okay, so let me go to the questions. No, I should be here only, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Anand, right? Is Spark a requirement to using, and can it run independently as a script or an Airflow pipeline? So yes, pretty much. So Spark is definitely a codependence for Zing, but to be honest, I mean, if you look at the hardware sizing, you really don't need a cluster. For you don't need like a few machines. You can go with a big box, and I've given some hardware sizing, so you can run on a Spark local mode without having any cluster, and you can definitely pipe it in through Airflow. Is there anybody else wants to ask anything?
Yeah. If that answers your question, if that answers your question, Anand, then uh, I mean you can write something, or if somebody else has any question, please unmute yourself, or you can write in the chat box. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I hope Anand, your question was answered, and feel free to write more questions. So in the meantime, let me just actually just show you the output. Okay, so here we are. So if you see that, these are the records, this is the output, these are the records which are actually coming in from the raw data, right? And these are the records directly, exactly as they were. But we have got a cluster ID here, and there is this, I think, where's the header? Yeah. Okay. So let me just. Okay. So matching records have actually got the same cluster ID. So if you look at this, these records have actually been treated as duplicates, right? I think there is a, the accuracy is not that great here. Yeah, maybe it's actually not done a great job. I think maybe I needed to train it a bit more. But if you look at this, uh, these records are actually, treated as same records. So this is the cluster ID which they have got. So that's how it works, right? The matching records which actually get the same cluster ID, and they would get a probability of, how best they match to the cluster and how worst they match to a cluster. So you will get, multiple kinds of there could be some records which are probably not matching that well to the entire cluster, so they will get a lower probability, and records which actually don't have any matches will just get a unique cluster ID without any probabilities. So pretty much, that's how it works. Okay. And if you look at it, I mean, all kinds of variations, etc., you really don't need to bother. It is able to actually pick them out and learn based on the training that we have given. And if you're not satisfied, you can actually just go ahead and run the training round a bit more. So here we are. I think that was pretty much what I wanted to cover. I would love to hear what people think, and if they find it useful, if yeah, anything. I mean, if they have any questions.
Uh, just
So
give me a
Vishal
second.
is typing something.
Okay. Uh, just give me a second. Where did I lost? No.
Okay. So this is the configuration that I had shown to you earlier. Let me start with, so this is the input, which is the test CSV that I had showed to you. It doesn't have a header, it has a delimiter. And if you look at the repository, we have, listed out various kinds of, uh, let me just show that to you as well. So if you look at the configuration here, the configuration is kind of defined for various kinds of inputs and outputs. And let me just show you about. So say you want to connect to Snowflake. So this is how your configuration would look like for the data. Similarly for Cassandra, Parquet files, etc. And to go back to the configuration again, this is the input. This is the output. So this is where it wrote the output in CSV format with this delimiter with the header, and these are the fields on which I want the matching to run. So and what type of matching I need. So it could be fuzzy, it could be exact. Pretty much that's it. Is that clear? Any other question?
Uh, if If there are any
So
questions, yeah, please go ahead.
like if you guys have any other question, I mean, just let me know. Any issue that's there on the repo, I'm very actively monitoring, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or email or Git, whatever works. Yeah. So any feedback? Anybody wants to give any feedback on whether this looks good or bad or useful? Anand, how about you? Right. Thank you so much. So I mean, just check out the repo. If you find any issues, just let me know. So over to you, Vishal. I think
Uh, just give me. Am I audible, by the way?
you are on mute, Vishal.
Just give me a second. Yeah, you can. By the way,
You are
like I
now
mentioned
unmuted.
earlier, I'm not able to share anything through my screen. I need to fix that. Can you share the PDF I shared with you through your
Yes,
screen? Yeah, yeah,
let me do that.
yeah.
1 second. Yep. Here we are.
We have some more feedbacks coming, Sonal. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I better read that. I need all the feedback right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
thanks,
yes.
Ravish. Thanks, Anand. And yeah, thank you, Vishal, of course.
Yeah. Uh, by the way, meanwhile, everybody else is writing their feedback. I'll just quickly start talking about the update from FOSS United, that what we have done, like in last month, or what we are planning to do further. So can you go to the next? Yeah. So first is the mono school. So currently, if you know about since we started mono school, we had uh, one. Okay, let me just check. I mean, there is supposed to be one issue with. I'll just start it. Okay, no, Big Blue, but OBS is fine as well. Sorry. So I was just talking about, we have two more courses coming on Mono School. One is building online games with Python, and second one is Primer. I mean, and like it will be published very soon. It's on the website itself, but it's not available for preview right now. But in case you are interested to create some courses with on Mon School, feel free to like write to us with on me, or public chat itself. Or if you are not, you can actually write us at foundation@fossunited.org. So you should like let us know if you have some ideas or anything to discuss about. We'll be happy to chat about that. Anand and I are very interested about that. So, and next is FOSS Hack. So we have FOSS Hack coming, and the registrations are open. So in case all of you are not aware about this, we have yearly hackathon, and this is second edition of FOSS Hack coming on next month, 13th 14th November. And this, like last year, we have a pool prize of 10 lakh rupees for the project. Even Sonal can actually start add her project, and maybe she'll get some contributors, and so that is a good place to get some contributors, Sonal, and
I will do.
some funds as well, for longer run. So, and similar, if you are here and want to contribute to your own project or some existing project, you can add it on the you can join and add your project. We have the portal open to add project or create a joint team, everything. And in case you are interested to volunteer, or like if you are part of any community and want to spread this hackathon in your circle, let us know. We'll happy to partner with you. We'll add your poster, I mean logos, on our website. And if you want to speak or anything, even sponsor our hackathon, let us know. You can see our weekly updates on forum. We do a weekly chat on Friday 5 p.m. 5:30 p.m. Next is the non-profit that we are working with. So to enable them with free and open source software. So currently we have 8 projects. I'll write an update on forum itself this week, or by the next week, Monday or Tuesday, about the 8 projects that we are currently like who are using for ERP Next as of now, to manage their day-to-day jobs, HR, accounting, and other the FRAP provides the framework that FRAPIP provides, and currently we are working with 4 other non-profits to implement ERP Next at their organization. And we recently we are working with some other one non-profit called T4G Labs. So they recently published a blog, so we'll share in the group itself about how we are like helping them. So it's more like if you want to help us in that area, even you can like come and join. And not just ERP Next, we are open for any other tools as well to help this is non-profits. For example, we had a chatbot integration with ERP Next for this T4G Equalearn project that we are working with. um, and I guess that's it. And if you have any ideas or any suggestion, next you can actually help us, or you can suggest us whatever you feel like that we should be improving it, or what else we should be doing it apart from the initiative that we have been doing. If there is anything, Anand, you want to write, you can write in the chat box. This is a little what I wanted to share with the community. Any ideas are welcome. You can join our community. I'll share this link, this PDF in the YouTube description, if you are reading this later on YouTube, so that you can find this links. Thanks, Sonal. Thanks for helping with the PDF, and thanks for joining and talking about Jing. Like I mentioned, we wish Jing to get that more contribution in coming days, coming week, and grow soon. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. So I hope there are no other further comments, right? Okay, Anand is saying, I wish it could work with simple pandas setup. Anand, can we talk, maybe later? You want to just send me a message on LinkedIn and we can talk it, or maybe on Git. I think that will be a better place to talk, right?
Yeah, if there is a way that this Zing can be like set up with pandas and people can use it.
Sure.
Any other suggestions or comments, Kaustuv, Nabaran, Ravish? We are happy to hear. Otherwise, we had just one talk for this meetup. Uh, we'll be next we'll be having our next session in coming month. Yeah, cool. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. It was wonderful meeting all of you this month, and we hope to see more such interesting project like Zing and other coming out, and we will hopefully invite them to talk at FOSS Meetup, like similar to this. I think one more message. Are we not having open session? Yeah, I mean definitely. Like Ravish or anybody who wants to start talking about Sonal. If not, like we can start talking about other projects, like whatever you feel like, what you see last session. For example, we were chatting about education system, in yesterday in the group. If you are reading the messages, we see like multiple thoughts on that, right? If anything about even the FOSS projects which have been the recent uh, changes. The news that is being like seen in the FOSS world. Uh, yes, Anand. Anybody else have anything to start, or Colibri? I'm not sure. What does this mean? Sonal, we basically have we keep half an hour for open discussion every meetup, so that people can come and talk about what they are building, or what they have been contributing for few minutes even, and want some feedback.
Yeah, so who wants to go? I think Ravish, Anand.
Yeah, I Anand is like using mobile phone, so he'll be mostly chatting today.
Okay.
So, Kaustuv, you want to share about your project, what you have been building? The
Hey,
Hey,
hi, Shal, can you hear me?
yes, 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 we can hear you.
Yeah. So I've recently been working on Hyperlog. So what we built, it's not something that only we are building. It has been tried before. So what we are doing is uh, sort of making a system that will take the GitHub profile or any kind of Git repository, and uh, it will analyze the contributions of the developers. So this is particularly useful in engineering teams that want to see what contributions are being made by particular people, and which of these developers are really doing a lot of work, and which of these are adding more tech depth, um, and those kinds of things. And then there's this same tech can also be used for hiring. So let's say we can just take the GitHub profile of a person, and we come up with some insights on what kind of tools they are using, what languages they are using, uh, and so on.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and what libraries they are using.
So, like you mentioned, there are other projects. I mean, similar to who are solving this issue, right? I mean, this working on the same. So how yours is different than others which are already there?
Hmm. So currently there is one project called Coders Rank. So what they do is they take the repository, and uh, then they go through the repository analyzing the contributors, and they like come up with libraries, technologies, yeah, and they provide like a portfolio, and then as a business on the business end, they connect with the potential recruiters, and they do that. With Hyperlog, what you want to do is sort of one thing to do is sort of make that as an API of sorts. We are looking into it. Uh, we're not uh, we're not quite fixed that this is what you want to do. So that all of the three use cases can be satisfied with this. And more than just that, we want to go further than just getting a raw quantity of how many lines of code they've written, or how many commits they've written. We want to sort of over time at first we could just use some kind of heuristics to like we could say ki whether a person is writing proper commit messages or not, right? uh, like we can just say ki if the length of the commit message is x words, then greater than or equal to x words, then yeah, this could be a fine commit message. Otherwise we could sort of give minus points to that developer. So we want to kind of get into these other things more than just the core tech part. On the portfolio side, we were also kind of trying to be more customizable instead of just the stock one that is already provided.
All right. We
So
hope.
what is the repo there? Sorry.
And so it's currently hosted on github.com. I'll just send the link.
Yeah, if you can please send the link.
Uh, and on the hiring end, we had built this other platform. And there
I
was there's another thing where we do the actual analysis. We had open sourced it for a bit, and then we had again closed sourced it, and now we are evaluating from a business perspective which would be better for us. But there's a very similar kind of analysis that is being done by people that coders rank. We so both teams worked independently on it, but I could just share that link, and the logic is quite similar as well. And before this, there was another a really cool project called Sorcerer. They made some they made some very good stuff. Even so, if you're interested in portfolio, that is definitely something to look at.
So this is Coder's rank, which is similar to what you are doing, Hyperlog, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a little bit like the core tech that is there.
Okay.
They are using similar technology for analyzing.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So you should also add your project to FOSS Hack, I guess. You'll get some contributor. You can probably mention this in the like we have this one thread going on uh, in the forum itself about hackathon ideas. Okay, so you can put it there with some brief details.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The reason I haven't like sort of went out about it because well we are still evaluating which parts should we need to open source and which
So
so
yeah, okay. You want to make
we are
it
probably
like hybrid sort of.
huh.
Okay.
So yeah, matlab, probably the the way I'm thinking is everything will be open source and will provide so that they can host it themselves so that enterprises can run the analysis without the fear of someone else reading their code.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, Thanks for the link.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Any other
This is
ideas,
nice.
comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, even like I'm pushing people to actually put their ideas on the to for a fast hack, because we see we want to have this like not just for the the price or something, but for the sake of once in a while, every year people come and build something and get to know about other projects, and maybe start contributing to other projects as well. So it's more like a meet where people get to know other good projects that are being being built. I see the coder ranks. And how does you ensure code is of optimum quality rather than judging by quantity? uh, yeah. Cost of you can actually speak. That will be quick, and things will be recorded as well, I guess. People will love to listen than just read, yeah, later.
Yeah. So the quality of the code, that is an actual problem. So there's no one size fits all approach that can just go for everything, right? So a few things that can be done is that there have been the research has been done on mathematical models to calculate the cognitive complexity. Some projects like Code Climate specialize in just that. Um, so something like that. We were also looking at some readability models, a few other that have only been in the research. They don't have a proper project yet. So those kinds of things. But yeah, there's
Um,
no one size. Matlab, I haven't come up with one size fits all approach.
is it actually that tough for a human to get a profile and just the code quality that we need to deploy artificial intelligence models? I feel like it's less of a scale problem, more of a quality problem in terms of hiring, because we want to make hiring more humane and less of automatic.
Right. So what you're saying is the judging can be done by humans. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. At the end of the day, an artificial intelligence model is bound by the biases of human that is writing the models, right?
Yes.
So
True.
So I feel like instead of employing artificial intelligence and machine learning for each and every problem that we have, we kind of try to solve the problem by putting human intelligence into it. And then when we find an optimal, because even human recruiting procedures right now are also biased, and it's very hard to put out the unconscious bias. Several orgs do it by putting interview panel where the panelists are of diverse backgrounds, so the biases are essentially cancelled out. But in case of an AI, you are kind of adding out the biases instead of cancelling the biases. Um, the more problem is even my statement may be incorrect due to the primary fact that artificial intelligence models are opaque and not transparent. Um, so I feel like when doing recruiting through those methods, it becomes more tough to get quality candidates.
That's a really good point. But also, even with current hiring methods, almost every way of hiring, any automated hiring solution, they are always biased towards one particular set of candidates. Take Hacker Earth, Hacker Rank, Top Coder, or those kinds of projects. They all are biased towards people who are well versed with data structures and algorithms. Usually, they are like college students, not the just open source hobbyists, right? So for the other kind of people, they have to go through a human layer to get through it. So this is a larger problem, I feel.
Exactly. That's where I was going. So
Yeah, we have another question for Ravish. What is human profiling? Even I'm interested to hear that, what this could be. Ravish, can you, yeah, speak? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like getting up with some scores without actually, any human intervention, seeing like the work of the person who has done, and with by just judging like score, with simple, like conditional, just because the score is so less and the very good candidate is eliminated straight away. It's like just profiling them, okay, whether he's good or bad, whether he's good or bad, sort of like that. Instead of seeing like, okay, whether he's really capable and whether he's really adaptable to the environment that we have. Hope I made some sense, I guess.
I think I get your point. You are trying to say that more human vetting rather than machine vetting, right? That's what you're trying to.
Right.
Yeah, I'm also on the same page.
That's
So,
actually good what you brought up, like the hacker rank and other things regarding recruiting. I think what they really push is very narrow view, to be fair. So I think is trying to address that part.
yeah, I mean, we were having discussion like yesterday. I mean, giving the people choice based upon the rank in JE, right? I mean, with some set of questions, and then I'm not sure. I mean, my point is based upon some set of questions, right? I mean, what they have done in a particular exam, or for here, what they have contributed to, and using some algorithms, giving them, I mean, profiling them, right? I don't know whether am I making sense or not, but I'm just trying to relate it with the other system that we have.
It's an inherently hard problem, I feel, even with since you brought up the topic of JE, right? Um, I don't feel like 6 hours of how you solve questions should define someone's life. Um, this is how our system is made to right now, but if someone wants to change, they should change it. But then the question always remains like, how much are you willing to go deep into it? Because it's a systemic problem, as we were discussing in the group, right?
Yeah.
The conclusion was that it was a systemic problem and actually fault of none but everyone.
Yes.
Here is the system. So
Yeah, it's even disturbing when people say, okay, you should be from tier one or tier this, instead of just, keeping equality in mind and just waiting for to see some sort of submission made by a human, instead of just saying you should be from this and that. Very disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that. Even we get some messages. I get some messages or mails saying that, hey, I want to be part of this project, and I want to be part of this company, and at the end they'll write one line that this company is being started by folks from IIT or IAM, sort of
Yeah,
line, that
yeah,
lines.
right.
Yeah, that
I
makes
mean,
no sense to
doesn't
me.
matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Name and shame, basically. Take a screenshot of the email, put it on Twitter. Uh, I find like I find this to be very social injustice in a way. Even if someone has the skill sets, they're just being judged by what they did like 7 years back in an exam, which is of 3 hours or 6 hours. Should not ideally define someone. But yeah, one thing that was going on in my mind when talking about lines of code. For example, we have a lot of generated code, right? In a lot of programming languages, generate a lot of code. For example, in Go, we can generate a lot of conversion code. In the Kubernetes project, almost a big chunk of the project is generated. Now, if I commit that, my profile will show like, hey, Navarun has committed like 80,000 lines of Go code. Does it make me expert just by running a make file recipe? Certainly no. So that's where I feel that the lines of code heuristic of judging someone of what they know of a language is a bad idea. That's
Yeah, I
where my
totally agree.
comments came. Just to make my stance clear here.
And also about like
Yeah,
as you gain experience, I think you write very short amount of code in order to like enforce more readability into your project. You know.
yep. Totally
Readable
agree.
code is not necessarily short. In Python, in Go,
Yeah, right.
we actually encourage proper naming of variables instead of like writing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H and making variables more humane. So it actually increases the number of characters that you write for a particular language.
Yeah. So just yesterday, I was discussing with my team member on the project that what really matters when we analyze people's profile, and we came to the conclusion that the number of lines of code is really a completely irrelevant metric. The real metric is more about how many commits are you making. That's a better metric. Obviously, people can fake their commit history and all, but in a working project, let's say in an enterprise, the number of commits you make is sort of how fast you are able to ship things. So if the code base is good, and then your ability to ship features fast increases. You're able to make more commits.
Uh,
So
I would add there, right? I mean, I think that also depends on coding style. A lot of people do very small commits. A lot of people do, features, and then they would make one big commit. I think one sole indicator of, having one single, heuristic or a score, either if it's line of code, it's number of commits, number of bugs you fixed, how complex that bug was, whether it was a feature request or a bug. I think there's like really vast area to get into. I don't think just one metric here would suffice. Maybe you can do a combination, and that gives a more holistic picture instead of one. That's what I feel.
I agree with Sonal's thought as well as Anand also wrote on the chat that by making like number of commits the heuristic, we are basically penalizing people who write with less number
Right.
of bugs, which is true actually. That thought is very valid. So if people write like well structured single commit features, I would not mind like giving them an edge in hiring if they write in a very good concise thought process in a single, even if it's a single commit. So should consider like multiple heuristics at the same time. Um, just
so
segueing into Costa. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so another just throwing it out there. How about the number of new functions added or the number of new classes added?
It
I
also
don't.
does not make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I don't think you can go there. I don't think you should, Kaustav. You should never go uh, into quantity, and what you're measuring is quality, right? I think the strength would be to figure out the quality, and I don't know if there is a good way to do that. But you definitely cannot measure quality with quantity. in any way, in any metric.
Plus one to that thought. That is not going to happen.
Do you like touch something like what's like being discussed while doing a pull request or something? Like all that conversation happened between maintainer and the contributor.
So we actually value that. So I work at VMware, and my team values. So our team primarily works on the open source Kubernetes project, and we put a lot of emphasis on what the person, how the person works, and the person's dynamics with the maintainer of a project that the person is contributing to. So if we are getting someone who has already contributed to an open source project, has like decent features merged into a code base, we really go ahead and see the PRs and see how the conversation flow works, because that gives a holistic view of how the person may behave inside the team as well. We can always, like, we can't always say for sure, but it gives a good indicator if we see open source commits or pull requests and discussions around it.
I think that's a great, yeah, that's a great perspective. Something I think, Costa, for you to think about.
I mean,
It's
not discouraging your ideas, just saying that some problems may not be optimally solved by technology, and some parts of the hiring process may be better suited to technology. Some parts of the hiring process may not be suited to technology at all. They may be solved by human intelligence rather than machine intelligence.
I would assume that, one thing that I can just think of, and this is a very, very, off the shelf argument. Obviously, everybody's an expert who's not working on the problem. So feel free to now, completely discard it if you think. But something like like if you run something like a deep source, right? A code analytics on the code. Which can kind of say that these are the possible issues or bugs this code is likely to have. I think that may be a more a better indicator of code quality than lines of code. So lines of code or I mean, some good programmers can actually be writing, their commit messages as uh, issue number 3 fixed or whatever. And they may be taught to improve their commit messages and they may still be good programmers. Those are not people you would like to really, weed out from your recruitment process. Hiring is tough. So, yeah, just some stuff for you to think about.
Yeah, in hiring is just one potential space where this can be used. There's also engineering management, where if you're working in a enterprise company, uh, writing descriptive commit messages will uh,
You
will
are now
help
muted.
other team members, and especially in that environment when they're already in the system, and when you want to give them kind of feedback, this is something that you should still take into account.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the idea is not to completely replace the humans from the system. It's more like, I think this was mentioned in 0 to 1 as well. Just uh, instead using machines to help with the decision making, not replacing humans. So
Yes,
we
so
can
you
just
are,
speed
yeah.
up the processes. Mhm.
You're trying to be a signal, right, to the human.
Right.
No, which is fair. Of course, it's fair.
Mhm. There are in that just trying to find out features that can be uh, can be gained automatically, and that can help with the kind of decision making about evaluating an engineer, which is obviously a very very hard problem.
Yeah, yeah,
There is no one size fits all.
right. It's a tough problem.
Yeah.
You are now unmuted. You are now muted.
Vishal, can you speak? Or
So Vishal, I think, is writing. I don't know why he's not speaking. He's saying Codacy provides code analysis platform. It grades the code in repo. But the point here is, Vishal, it will not rate the committer, right? It will just do a thing for the repo, right? Entire repo. Or is it per committer?